For like 15, 20 minutes, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Baby gonna cry right when we start recording.
Of course.
That's all right. Dallas is probably gonna make an appearance at some point here. He just likes to be held sometimes. That's the only way you can get him to calm down. So
I thought that was mine.
this that I bought? We share everything, baby. Here, you go ahead. I'm sorry I took the first sip.
Yeah.
Well, this is the kickoff of Groundwork Radio. That's what we're calling the show.
Yeah.
And just want to welcome you, introduce ourselves. My name is Chester Chambers. Some of you may know me from Bloom, Cornrow, and now the Groundwork Dinner Series. I'm a chef in Houston, Texas. I was born in 1993 in Durham, North Carolina. Moved around until I came to Houston in 2015. And I started cooking in 2019. What about you, babe?
I'm Paige Chambers,
Right,
formerly Paige Daniel. I'm gonna hand you your son. What did you say? What did you give? Just a little background.
Yeah.
I don't know, babe.
Just a little bit about yourself.
A little bit about me.
Where are you from?
I am from Houston, Texas, born and raised. More so Sugarland. I know a lot of people will joke like Decatur is not Atlanta. But yeah, Houston, Texas. Born in 1992. I am a Gemini, along with everyone else in this room, including our dog. Yeah, I started off working with Bloom back in 2019 when it came to be. Helping with pop-ups, the food truck come to fruition, and then Cornrow.
Yeah, we can jump into that. So what is Bloom?
So Bloom is I'd like to say the starter brand.
Okay.
And it was a brand. It felt more like a brand rather than just like, I don't know, like a restaurant or.
Yeah. So I started Bloom in 2019 because I wanted to sell whole foods that were plant-based to Houston. It was kind of during the big boom of the Impossible Burger and the Beyond Burger. So my flagship product was a burger made with like 99% local Houston ingredients. So I got the red beans from Gunderman Farms, had rice flour from Harvest Grain Mills, garlic chives from Planet Forward, sweet potatoes from Gunderman Acres. So it was a super local burger that I first kicked off with. I was featuring a lot of Houston farms in all of my products. Started off as a pop-up tent. We did that for a couple of years, including part of COVID, basically all of COVID. Once, more or less restrictions were lifted, we got a food truck and we were doing farmers markets and late night at the flat. Our menu evolved to include veggie burgers, tacos, burritos, brunch items. We rotated through a lot. And we shut the food truck down in 2023-ish. Just as we, the vegan thing was hard to sell in Houston. Kind of the whole food, not junk food, vegan food truck concept.
We kind of started going more into the junk food side, honestly. Just kind of giving people what they wanted as far as like burgers and fries, as opposed to.
Yeah, I mean, we never sold like an Impossible Burger. Like we were doing our burger, but we did fries. Like we were frying more
of the American style cuisine rather than what we were actually eating at home.
Yeah. Yep. So I guess you could say there was like a disconnect with Bloom and just like our lives, because we didn't really know what we wanted to do. I jumped into Bloom full time in 2019, and we needed money, so we just picked up events that would pay us the most, including parking at the flat 4 nights a week, doing super late nights, so getting there around like anywhere from 5 to 8, and then staying until 2 in the morning, and then doing cleanup and all of that after that. So that was a grind for sure. So we reset in 2023. Yeah.
Look at me when you're talking too. Sometimes I feel like you're just looking straight at the camera.
Okay.
That's all.
You're telling me what to do. I love it. That's why we're married. Right on the camera, right in the middle of the podcast. Doing live edits.
We're not breaking, so
live edits for sure.
Yeah, no, that was a grind. That was a grind. I definitely burnt out before you did.
Well, kind of, because I got burned before. But
dang.
Double
Speaking of that, for you. Speaking of that, tell the people about that. That was, wow, one for the books.
No pun intended for the burnout. You can probably see my burn right here. This was they don't really classify burns after a second degree. It was basically a 3rd degree burn that was all the way down to my myelin sheath. I got it while I was cleaning the flat top. Put a little bit of extra cleaning chemical on there, let it heat up real hot, and I was cleaning it with a pumice stone, splashed off the backsplash and landed right onto my arm. So that was in July of 2022. Kind of initiated the decline of the food truck and the willingness to do that.
Yeah.
So I think like you stepping up with more hours with that and taking care of me was maybe your final straw. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that kind of catapulted everything into, I felt like I had 80% left to use for the next 6 months, and I used it in about 2. So it kind of went quickly. The flame got blown out.
Yeah.
But I mean, there was a lot of stuff that we went through with owning that food truck that we kind of learned from, because neither one of us have hospitality or food background.
Yeah, I guess that's important to note. I didn't have any culinary experience before starting Bloom in 2019 and going through any of the pop-ups. So, as I learned about vegan food and whole food plant-based diet and, what it can do for your body, and around 2017, I started cooking more and more just at home and for friends.
Yeah.
And through that process, I became more comfortable cooking to the point where I said, I want to do this full time. So I was working at ExxonMobil at the time. I quit my job to, start my food business from scratch with no experience.
Yeah.
And, I know a lot more now than I did back then because I took that leap.
Yeah.
But back then it was definitely a learning experience.
I mean, I remember meeting you and you talking about quitting your job at Exxon almost every time we hung out. Just like those
Fun
days.
Topics for hanging out for a date.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But just like those times where you would leave work early, you'd be like, it's 3:00 and you're like, hey, what are you doing? Let's meet up. And I'd be like, aren't you at work?
Sorry, Exxon, if you're hearing this.
Sorry, Exxon.
I was not working 8 hours a day.
But with my schedule, I had days off in the middle of the week, so it would be odd for you to do that. But I could also see your passion for cooking. I mean, I tasted everything. I personally did not cook. Side note for everyone watching, Paige is the official taste tester of this household. I could make a mean hot sandwich.
Love a sandwich.
But that is just about it.
We love a sandwich.
Chester is the chef of the household. But
you're making breast milk.
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing
You're
that.
Cooking up that.
I'm whipping it up for baby boy.
Yeah, don't forget about that.
But just like seeing your passion for food, it was easy to encourage you to be like, yeah, leave it. Let's do this, blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, it's been a journey.
Yeah.
But it's gotten us here. And we are far, far past where we were and just doing bigger and greater things. So right. I'm excited.
Yeah. So on to Cornrow. Yeah, so we basically shut down the food truck in beginning of 2023. I went back to working full time for US Foods. I'm working remotely, still doing that. So, um, just had time to reset, step away from food for a couple months.
Yeah.
We would jump in and out of pop ups. You kind of just miss doing farmers markets and seeing people and pop ups and stuff like that. So I jumped in and out during 2023, and I think our trip to Mexico City at the end of 2023 kind of kicked off my passion a little bit more, um, and started those initial seeds for what Cornrow would look like.
Yeah.
So, what was that trip like for you?
It was an interesting trip. It was fun. I say interesting now because the memories that I have tied to it were the expectation that we had going into it. We're like, we were going to eat everywhere, we're going to drink, we're going to have fun. And the eating part was really good. The drinking part for me was not so good. One, because I was pregnant and I didn't know it.
Yeah. You did sleep in hard one of those days.
Yeah.
We also had like 4 drinks each at
yeah.
Sorry, Dallas.
But the food was phenomenal. The environment was phenomenal. Just exploring with you is always fun, especially somewhere new.
And the corn was so good.
Yeah.
I was like, I didn't really understand that before we went there.
Yeah. And like, the cheese.
Okay, well.
I am a cheese girl. Más queso, por favor.
Well, I mean, we knew that the cheese was good. Cheese is good in the U.S. and in Mexico.
It's different.
But the corn, is it? Okay. The cheese is different in Mexico, apparently. I'll take it. But the corn, I mean, like, all the corn tortillas that I had ever had were like kind of an afterthought on the plate, I guess. It's probably just like maseca corn or mission tortillas or something like that. So I didn't really understand. Like, I would always get flour tortillas. And most places we went, it wasn't really an option in Mexico City, It was just corn, yeah. Yeah, we went to, I can't remember what the name of the place was where we got the pozole. That was my first time having pozole.
Oh, where we stood in the line for like, it was so hot and we stood in that long line outside. Yeah. I don't remember that name of that place either, but it was good.
So good.
It was so good.
The hominy and the pozole was really good, and then it came with just a big old crunchy tortilla chip, and that was like delicious.
Yeah.
We had corn at Azul.
Oh, that night.
Condesa Azul, I think it was the restaurant it was called. That was really, really good. We just had like a really simple taco with some avocado and eggs, whatever those were called. That corn was really good. And then we did Jenny's quesadillas.
Now that was fire.
Yeah.
That was it was amazing to watch that whole process. Like us getting there, maybe 2-3 people in line. By the time we ordered and I turned around and looked behind us, the line was down the block. And then just watching her prepare our food. I mean, you got video footage of that, which was really cool.
Yeah, I went back watching that footage, just be like, yeah, how am I going to recreate this?
Yeah.
At home, like a 30-second clip, I just watched it over and over.
Yeah.
And she just had a big bucket of blue masa, and she had a small tortilla press.
Hand right on the plancha.
She knew, by heart how big the masa ball was supposed to be. Would smash it up, and she had this really cool technique where she would like throw the masa back and forth after she pressed it to turn it into like an oval shape for the quesadilla.
Stretch
and then just lay it right down on the comal. And someone else who was taking orders was adding the toppings. I think we got like a chicken and a pipián verde. We got a wheat la coche. We went because we wanted the wheat la coche. That's what we originally searched up. We might have got like a squash blossom.
We did.
Something like that. And it was so simple, but that corn tasted so good.
It was so good.
I was like, dang, this is legit.
And it's like one of those things where I think one of the biggest takeaways from that trip is how we eat here or how I've eaten here in the past is just like, I just got some street food. Let me hurry up and go to my car and eat it before I go all the way home. We had like a 15-minute walk to that stand. Yeah. We walked all the way back to our hotel, ate that food, and it still tasted just as fresh. It wasn't like, dang, I should have ate it while I was there. The tortilla is now soggy. It was none of that.
Yeah.
Being in Mexico City, there was a moment to like really eat our food and appreciate it, which I had never really done before.
Yeah.
Attempted to do that in Puerto Rico, but that food, unfortunately.
We have to throw shade to Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico, you got to revive yourself for us. That it wasn't hitting how it needed to hit.
Puerto Rico just caught a stray when we were talking about Mexican food.
But yeah.
Yeah. That was the start of my like initial thoughts into Cornrow. We came home, got a tortilla press, did research on the masa, started buying Macienda corn flour, making tortillas at home. It kind of sucked at first. I didn't know what I was doing. I bought Macienda's book called Masa, read up on that. And then I talked to Nick and Stephanie at Emma. They showed me how they cook their corn and grind it and make their tortillas. And, I would go back and forth with Nick and be like, hey, my tortillas are coming out like this. What's going on? And he was like, oh, well, did you do this? Did you do that? Did you do this? Is your water the right temperature? Are your tortillas even thickness? You need to check the temperature of your surface that you're cooking on.
Yeah.
And eventually I got that puff and I was like, I think I can, start to sell this. Because, back at Bloom, like we would have a lot of people say they were gluten-free or they didn't want flour tortillas or something like that. And we would just buy like corn tortillas, some from the store. Then we would start to buy them from, I guess it was Emma at that point at the farmer's market and, sell those.
Atemo at one point when he was there.
Yeah, he was selling his tortillas too. But it was really, it's much nicer to make them yourself, I feel like.
Yes.
So, with that, I was like, I don't want to just straight up cook Mexican food. So I, started to think about like my food memories and like what part of my story did I want to incorporate into the Cornrow brand. I mean, at this time, Cornrow wasn't the name. It was just, we're going to start serving fresh corn as part of the brand. And I just started thinking about, my memories of my grandma cooking growing up and like going to her house for holidays and stuff was always super special for me. And she would just put so much care and time into the food. Like she would be cooking all day and we would have this giant meal. And there were things that I really liked, like the sweet potato casserole and green beans. And she would do like 2 or 3 different kinds of ham. We would have turkey, fried chicken, her cornbread was amazing. All her desserts were so good. So I wanted to incorporate that into my cooking. And at the same time, I wanted to continue to think about, the health of my food, because that was always my intention with my food, was to make sure that, I could be healthy eating my food. People could, feel good after eating my food and not feel tired or have the itis, or maybe the food's not processed, but it's battered and fried, or it's full of fat or animal fat or something like that. So I kind of wanted to avoid a lot of that with my food. So I started to, I guess, think about like, what is soul food? So I started doing research on that, like where did soul food come from? And it really started in West Africa. And then there was the Atlantic slave trade, which, forced West Africans into the New World, if you want to call it that, like North America, South America, and the Caribbean. And in the US in particular, soul food at first was just, what slaves would garden in their free time. And then, the quality meats and vegetables would go to like the master's house, and then they would kind of get the throwaway part parts and still have to make a nutritious meal for themselves and their family.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of open fire cooking, slow cooking all day. Because if you get something that's a really tough cut of meat, or it's just gristly and on the bone, or you have a green that isn't super tender and needs to cook down all day, that's how like those first inklings of soul food kind of started.
Yeah.
You know, if you think about like collard greens or chitlins or oxtails or something like that. So it was really just kind of like trash to treasure kind of thing, just taking throwaway ingredients and turning it into something beautiful.
That's a good one. Trash to treasure.
Yeah, and it over the years, you know, with Emancipation Proclamation, Civil War, end of slavery, into Reconstruction, Jim Crow, Depression, and the Great Depression, and you know, just folks continuing to just have to figure out how to make it, and you know, living on
continuously evolve
lower wage and poor conditions. You know, it turned into processed foods, cheap foods that I can feed my family with. That can still be delicious. I can feed a lot of people with a little bit of money.
Piggybacking off of that, just like now that you're talking about this, just seeing how the world operates, how slaves would get like the scraps. When you look at predominantly Black and brown neighborhoods, the types of food that are there, it's just like there is fast food restaurant within walking distance. They are lined up on a block. So it's kind of interesting how that is. Over time, it is still, unfortunately.
Yeah, the food deserts are real, for sure. Food deserts are very real, and they're right down the street. It's like you don't have to go.
We don't have to go far
very
at all.
far. There's HEB and Whole Foods and Trader Joe's all over the place. Then you turn the corner and it's fast food.
Yeah.
And gas stations is like your best bet for food, and then they have canned food and maybe a couple things of produce, but not a lot. So it's fewer and far between in those neighborhoods as far as access to healthy foods. So
yeah. Just pause time. How much recording time does your phone have? I just want to make sure it's still recording.
It's still going. We've been going for 22 minutes. It's still going.
Okay. I just want to make sure we don't hit anything
good and then
it stops.
No, I was thinking the same thing. So yeah, we did a lot of research into soul food from then until today, just like what it is and what it stands for. And I decided I wanted to study that and reclaim it. So if I look at kind of original ingredients, like I did like a collard green quesadilla. So it was on a blue corn. I braised my collard greens in my house spice blend and curry powder, and put that on a quesadilla with some vegan cultured cheese. So it's healthy. You don't have the animal fats. It's historical. You have a delicious fresh corn tortilla on your plate. So I thought that was like a good example of soul food in a modern version.
Yeah.
I think I have a decent amount of like Mexican inspiration in my cooking, just because of that trip to Mexico City. But I kind of just I call my cuisine indigenous soul food. And I think a lot of people, when they hear indigenous, they think of like U.S. Native Americans.
Yes.
But I take that term a little bit more liberally. Like when I did research on the word indigenous, it kind of just means, you know, before colonization influence.
Yeah.
So I look at just like natural foods or native foods to West African cuisine, or a lot of different kinds of North American cuisine. Like I'll use yuca and plantain and corn and calabasa and beans and chilies. And I consider those indigenous ingredients. So
I would agree.
And I think that the experience of indigenous people and slaves in this country is somewhat similar. It's different kinds of colonization, but It's kind of like it's kind of culture that was overran and changed by the powers that be at the time, So I just try to highlight that in my cooking and expose that history and just talk about it or show it on the plate.
Yeah.
So the name Cornrow, how did that come to be?
How did it come to be?
I think I came to you one morning and I was like, babe, I got it.
Yeah.
And I was very excited because I love double entendre. Paige gets so
this
annoyed
man with a double entendre
whenever I bring up a double entendre. But I thought the cornrows of black hair represented the soul food aspect of my cuisine, and then rows of corn that are planted kind of represents the indigenous side. So it's somewhat of a play on words, and I love the name. People like the name. I think people kind of can understand what it's all about just from that word.
Yeah.
So it's cool. I feel like it's a little bit less generic than Bloom was. Just like, oh, I do Bloom. I'm plant-based. Cornrow is a little bit more powerful, and there's something to talk about with it. So
I feel like this is the rebranding came at a perfect time. Just changes in our lives and the direction it was going in. And also just kind of stripping it down and just being like the confidence, I guess I would say.
yeah,
Just like, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to serve. And this is why.
yeah,
and not being afraid to just straight up say that anymore.
Right.
I thank Bloom for a lot of that. One, for just being on that truck and the struggles that came with it, and just like dealing with certain attitudes towards the type of food that we served when it came to just like vegan food or just plant-based clean food. Gosh, the amount of times that we wanted to just be like, ugh, go away. I think that kind of built that confidence of like, I'm serving something good. Like, this is good food, and I don't need your opinions about it. If you don't want to buy it, don't buy it. Side note, every time we would say like, oh, plant-based vegan, and they would be like, we have fries. Oh, fries? Is that vegan?
I feel like people wouldn't do that about the fries. They would just be like, we would have so many people be like, oh, it's vegan? Nah, I'm good.
Yeah, but when people would say, are fries vegan? I would think like, just you've heard that word vegan, and now you can't even think through the fact that fries are made out of potatoes.
You just think vegan food is just like
straight out
a freaking collard green wrap with sprouts. Some nobody want to eat.
Just
some people eat that. I don't want to eat that most of the time. I'm not even gonna lie to you.
I want something seasoned and cooked well.
Yeah, I like cooked food. I like raw food, but I like cooked food. I don't like raw collard greens. But like one thing that we used to serve with Bloom was a chili garlic oyster mushroom taco, and people really liked it. It would be hard to get them to try it because it was vegan, but it was full of gluten. Like, we used a flour tortilla, and then we breaded our mushroom in flour as well. We were using like agave and chili garlic from Restaurant Depot to make the sauce, which people freaking loved.
Loved it so much.
But it wasn't like local or anything like that,
Yeah.
So I was like, how can I turn this dish that people loved from Bloom into something that I'm like proud to serve now, right? So we started with the tortilla, and we did a half corn, half flour tortilla using white corn flour from Hacienda and all-purpose premium flour from Barton Spring Mills outside of Austin.
Yep.
Then we did, just what was in season, and at the time when I was serving this taco, it was a pickled cabbage and carrot that we would just get from the local farmers.
Mm-hmm.
The oyster mushroom we kept, but instead of frying it in the wheat flour, we started frying it in corn batter. So good, so crispy. Um, it's a simple technique and
Yeah.
it's super clean ingredients. So I was really happy to come up with that recipe and change that part of the taco. And then I added the cashew lime cream and the hot honey, the Scotch
Hot
bonnet
honey.
honey. So it was the taco came something that was like 90% either local or responsible, traceable ingredients, which is another thing that's really important with the Cornrow brand. Like it was something I wanted to do, but it didn't really resonate with the Bloom customer, who was more of just like a casual customer. But with Cornrow, when we explain the dish more and we get to talk about the importance of the food, we trace all of our food from scratch, and we're very transparent in saying, 90% of this dish came from sources that I know, 10% I just went to the farmer's market or the grocery store and I picked up something because I wanted it on this dish. And that's totally fine.
Yeah.
Because you're uh it's our global food system, right? We use it when we need to, but the goal is to work with responsible producers
And know where it's coming from.
Yeah. So
That's one of my biggest things that I like about Cornrow and love is that with having the base of corn, the menu is just ever evolving.
Yeah.
And I don't know, there's just like there's a confidence in knowing that like whatever we produce next is going to be accepted by our base, our audience right now.
Yeah. Yeah, we haven't really had a miss yet.
We haven't had a miss.
No. Every week we putting out something new.
Okay, I ain't miss.
Last week we did the short rib taco with some pickled onions, some sour cream, and some crispy potatoes on a red corn tortilla. That was really good.
That was really good.
The week before that, we had the collaboration with Rind Culture. So we did that mushroom quesadilla. We did the bacon, egg, and cheese with the
flautas.
With the peach jam, peach caramelized onion jam, and we did the flauta plate.
Yeah.
With Brent's vegan pepper jack cheese. So the week before that, I did my mango curry with the karage fried chicken.
That one was great.
That's for a different time. That needs its own episode.
Yeah.
The banger.
But there's so many things that I can think of out of what you just named that came to life in our kitchen here at home.
Yeah. And it was just like research based, and just like the experience that I've had cooking over the past 5 years is just kind of like builds off of that.
Yeah.
And it's really just based on like walking through the farmer's market and the open air market and picking up stuff that looks good and be like, I'm gonna cook something good with this week.
That's true.
So I've only been a chef for 5 years, but I'm getting to that point where I'm pretty confident about the things that are coming out of my kitchen. I'm like, all right, y'all are gonna pay what this is worth because it's gonna be delicious. And I put a lot of work into it, and this has intention, and this is going somewhere. So you probably want to be part of this now before I really blow up. So you can say, yeah, I was trying Chester's food back then.
Sometimes
so pull up. Pull up on me.
That's funny. That's going to be a good soundbite right there. Do you want to check it to make sure it's still recording? This is just, it's a long, we've gone past our 15 minutes.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. How many more topics do we have left?
Let's go into groundwork.
Okay.
So, yeah, Cornrow Pop-Up has been going since February. It's coming up on 6 months. It's been a great way to test dishes and get feedback at the farmer's market. I don't know why exactly I had the desire to jump into something that was like a little bit more fine dining. I guess it was really when Dallas got here. Because why don't you tell them your experience about days when I go to the farmer's market? Because we haven't really talked about this. So I would like to hear just like on a Friday to Saturday, like what does your night and day look like?
Exhausting. Yeah. No. I mean, it's the life with a newborn. I mean, who sleeps?
Yeah.
Neither
Well,
one
I
of us.
sleep.
Yeah, you do. You
I
sleep.
sleep on Friday nights because
Friday
I'm up like
nights.
3:30 to 4:30 on Saturday morning. So it's
Yeah.
hard for me to get up with the baby and then get up and do all my prep before the market. So I put that on you on Friday nights.
Yeah. So I've taken on that responsibility of just like being up all night or just attending to him when he is up on Friday nights and not really having the help from Chester. But it's one of those things where I've just kind of like, that's what works for our family right now, for us to be able to do what needs to be done for Cornrow. I mean, it's not having the help of 1 or 2 wake ups isn't going to break me.
Yeah.
But that's what a Friday night looks like. And then we're trying to get out the door and to the market by 10 a.m. before it's completely scorching outside.
Yeah.
Which sometimes we don't always make it by 10. But we have been making it every Saturday the last few weeks.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just that I think these are just, although he won't remember this, I want him to be in that environment because I don't think that's something that will ever change for our family.
Yeah.
I feel like Saturdays will be that thing.
Yeah.
Where we go to the farmer's market. Sundays we go to the farmer's market.
Yeah, get fresh produce.
And I want him to
meet our friends,
grow up in that and be around that.
Yeah.
And kind of share those memories with him. I know some things will change. He'll play sports and stuff like that, but it'll always be just kind of like a core memory for
Project
him.
Lamine Yamal.
Yamal Yamin.
Anyway.
Yamal.
Lamine Yamal.
Lamine Yamal.
There you go.
How many other ones do I know?
17-year-old wonder kid from Spain who plays for Barcelona.
Okay.
Future Dallas Chambers.
Dallas Chambers.
Banger.
Season.
From outside the box. But yeah, I think that kind of really pushed me to think about what a dinner service would look like. Just those mornings are really tough on everyone. So that first got me to thinking, like, how can I do something different on Saturdays where I'm still cooking, but I can supplement that market or not do the market every week. So I thought a fine dining series would be a lot of fun. This first dinner is going to be August 24th, and I'm going to do 5 courses.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to we'll have 26 seats. I have an animal-based and a plant-based menu. This first menu is going to be all gluten-free because we have a couple of gluten-free folks, so I just edited the menu for it to be entirely gluten-free. And I get to show off a different side of my cooking.
Yeah.
It's going to be elegant. It's going to be fun. It's going to be simple dishes that are really full of bold flavors. And maybe we can start to get a preview of like what a restaurant concept would look like, or a tasting menu concept would look like. This past year, when I've been thinking about the future, I've definitely jumped back and forth in between. Do I want to do something that's fast casual, or do I want to do something that's a little bit more elegant and sit down? And I think the fear has kind of been holding me back from like the more elegant, like fine dining kind of like restaurant concept, because it's not something that I've ever done before, or I know that I have the capability of doing.
Mm-hmm.
So that is probably the thing that I'm most excited about with Groundwork, is the fact that I get to be in more of a fine dining concept, put out dishes that are beautiful and I can take time to explain and people can really savor, versus, I need food and I'm gonna grab it and go, or eat something that I know is good. I'm kind of like mass producing it a little bit more, and because for me, like, I use really good ingredients, so sometimes it's hard to get to the price point of like what a fast casual concept would look like without kind of cutting corners.
Yeah.
So our Groundwork tickets start at $100 a person, which gives me a little bit more runway to put out the kind of food that I want to serve especially with, sourcing ingredients from local farmers and getting basically the highest quality stuff that we can find in Houston and shipped in.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing that I'm excited for about this Groundwork series is just being able to see all of those ideas and recipes and food that we've eaten at home that I've just kind of been like, dang, I've never had this anywhere else. I don't think that I would ever look at a menu and say, this is what I want, because I haven't seen it before. Leave our space and touch other people's hearts. I think that's the biggest thing. And like really be able to read or see that moment where food speaks to someone else.
Yeah.
What I'm looking for at this first dinner is just like conversations. Just like, how is this, you sharing your food with other people going to create a little bit more community or connection amongst people that don't exactly know each other?
Yeah.
It's exciting.
Yeah, we have a great group of people for this first dinner, so
yeah,
it'll definitely be a fun time.
Yeah.
All right, let's wrap up with the last topic. So I applied and got accepted to the James Beard Foundation Legacy Network program.
What?
I told you a week ago. So I applied to the James Beard Foundation Legacy Network program as an advisee. So it's basically an advisory program put on by James Beard Foundation, where we're with a cohort of young chefs with 5 years or less of culinary experience that are predominantly Black, Indigenous, people of color, and we take classes with our cohort. We have a one-on-one advisor relationship with a mentor, and at the culmination of the program, we're all gonna meet in Chicago, I believe, and have some in-person networking and sessions and stuff. So I'm really looking forward to it because again, I've never worked for anyone in the culinary space.
Yeah.
And I pick up gems as much as I can just from like my friends, or just like going to restaurants, or talking to chefs at the farmers market and things like that. But I think this will be just a good experience just to sharpen my skills and make more connections, and just give me more confidence.
Yeah.
So really looking forward to it.
I definitely agree.
Thank you to Tyler Horn for writing one of my my letters of recommendation.
Yeah.
I definitely want to shout him out.
He is a gem of a guy.
He's one of the best guys that I know.
Best Houston. Guy in the city.
Easy. He's a man.
Hands down.
He's the market manager at Urban Harvest, and he's given us a lot of opportunities, in terms of letting us cook our food for over 3 years at Urban Harvest, sticking with us as we have figured out what exactly we want to serve. Yeah. And now he gave apparently a great recommendation for the Legacy Network. So thank you to Tyler. My man.
I'm excited for you.
Yeah, thank you. Me too.
It's going to be a good time.
Indeed. It kicks off in September, I think September 3rd, and then it goes through next March. So that might be Dallas's first trip. We're all going to Chicago.
We are going to Chi-Town.
Yeah, we're pulling up.
All right now.
I'm going to be doing my thing with my cohort for a couple of days, but after that,
we in the streets.
Yeah, baby and wife, we're going to be bouncing around for sure.
I'm excited.
Great. Well,
what you want to talk about?
I think that's it for episode 1.
You ain't got no jokes for the people?
Any jokes? This morning I cooked some plantains, some really ripe plantain.
Not the accent coming on.
Plantain banana. That's for another day.
Oh gosh. All right.
Hope you enjoyed our first episode. Next week we're going to recap Groundwork dinner number 1.
Dinner number 1.
So we're going to do a little bit of demystifying the fine dining experience.
The good, the bad, the ugly, what we can improve on.
Yeah, we're just going to be transparent about
what we did the best.
Yeah, what was good.
Was the food good?
Right, was the food good? We haven't cooked it yet, so we'll see. We're doing all of our sourcing today.
Yeah.
We'll talk about the dishes. We'll talk about the sourcing. I'm going to have Brent and Antonio here as well, so they're going to be helping in back of house. Everyone's kind of back of house and front of house for this intimate experience, so we're going to get their take on what the experience was like. So hope you tune in for that.
And until next time, what's going to be our send off? We gotta think of a send off. Our handshake. Let's do it.
Cornrow for your head top, groundwork for your wallet. We're gonna have to work on that.
We will.
Carmen.
Hey, Carmen.
What's up, girl? And we out.